It is a real honor to, for the second time, say welcome to Congressman Don Young to this symposium. Representative Young has served as Alaska's lone representative. He's the congressman for all of Alaska to the U.S. House since 1973. It's interesting to point out that he remains the only licensed mariner in Congress, and I'm particularly proud of Congressman Young because he recently visited Puerto Rico, supporting the monitoring of voting that took place there, relating the issue of statehood. I also want to note and acknowledge the presence of Mrs. Young with the congressman. Thank you for being here. And I'll leave you all with Congressman Don Young.
Thank you, and I'm a little bit in awe. That was a great presentation. Let's give him another hand, all right? I'm excited about what he had to say for the state of Alaska and this nation. The University of Alaska is doing outstanding work. I'm a little disappointed in the state legislative body. They cut them by $8 million, and they shouldn't have done that at all. They'll hear about that later on. But it's crucially important to recognize, and I know all of you in this room do, unfortunately the major population of the United States is quite still unaware of the Arctic. And I don't know exactly how to get that message across anymore. I talk to the people on the floor of the House, and they look at me like I'm talking about a lot of different things that they don't understand. They know about polar bears because the Coca-Cola ad. I don't drink a Coke, by the way. They know about a lot of activity, development try to do. They know about they say they shouldn't do it, but they don't know the potential for this world and this great nation of ours, the Arctic. And I've said, and you've heard me say it before, it is the future of our society and world society. If I was a dictator, I'd probably be shot, but if I was a dictator, I would create a new Arctic nation. Take all the countries that are above the Arctic Circle and create a new Arctic nation, because we are working together very well. We did in the past, even with during the Cold War, but we are doing it now through science, the universities' cooperation with one another, because we have an understanding better than any place in the United States and the rest of the world. And I say this because I'm a little concerned about the hostility that's created between the larger forms of government than the communities that are closer to really the action. If we could have a nation with just dedicated to peace and development of, and adapting to. This is something I've been frustrated with over a period of time, is the alarmist. The world's coming to an end. Oh, woe is us. We have to cease existing, period, now. We're not going to change anything very quickly, even if we were to stop living right now. I think we ought to think about adapting, recognizing what the potential is. And I will say I'm a little bit of a quasi-geologist by self-education, which is always dangerous. There's a tremendous amount above the Arctic Circle of all the resources humanity will need in the future. It's not in the south, it's in the north. The minerals we'll need to consume as population grows, the power of the fossil fuels which we will consume, not necessarily in transportation. I think that may be on the downside, but it'll be in other products. If you look around this room and think about it, what was made from a fossil fuel in this room? Just about everything you have. And we have to recognize that's one of the feeding components to the future generations. And we have to adapt, and how is it developed? And the one thing I'm excited is we lose this ice cap, so we're talking about it. And if we lose it as rapidly as we think we are going to need any icebreakers. That sounds kind of strange, but I do support icebreakers. I did get enough authorization in the defense bill, because this is a defense issue also, national security. For 3 major icebreakers and 3 minimum icebreakers. We have 1 now, as everybody knows. Other nations, as you know, the numbers they're awesome. Finland has always been very active, Russia's extremely active, and now China. So they know the future, and it's about resources. And we're still behind the 8 ball. We're also behind the 8 ball, and I do appreciate the previous presentation because we are making some progress in mapping the seas. To not only worry about ice, but we really don't know what's under the water and under the ice. This is very exciting for me to get done as an old mariner. As they said, I am a mariner captain, but I only dealt with the rivers. You know, I'm trained for the oceans, but I hate the oceans. I don't like it when I can't see something. I like the big rivers. It's exciting for me. And nothing to do with the ocean other than the fact we are having new ships built, different ships around the world, but we still have a large fleet of very outdated, antiquated ships. They're potentially dangerous. And IMO knows that, but we have a lot of, I call them bandits, still carrying cargo. That's a potential danger to the Arctic as far as oil spills go, contamination. It is not the drilling for oil which is going to occur. It's going to be a shipping unknown charter, and I'm hoping we'll be able to identify the channels that are necessary. And we have a system put in place for traffic, just like air traffic, because that's what's going to protect the waters of the Arctic. We go into the fishing arena, which to me is another exciting aspect for Alaska because it's close to the shores of my great state. And as the water temperature changes, acidification might be occurring, is occurring. Are the fish going to be different? Are they going to move further north? Is the food capability in the north adequate to maintain fish? I think it's more than adequate. I think if you study the biology about the Arctic, it's tremendously loaded with plankton and cetras which keep fishes alive. So that means we have an industry that will be actually in competition from primarily China, Japan to some degree, and some other nations also. We have to be aware of that and implement the 200-mile limit, the Magnuson-Stevens Act, making sure it goes forth and carries on because we always really thought about the Bering Sea as further north as it went. Now we're going to be much further, and that to me is a part that I look forward to. I probably won't see it. I'll be the first one to tell you that, but I will see it if I'm above or below. Remember, that below is non-charted area. Above is pretty good, but we don't know, but I just want everybody, I just wish I could get people to the vision of the Arctic, the resource capability, and the adaptation by man to the actions of ice loss. And again, it was mentioned by the presenter previous to me, the communication with the Alaskan Native people along the coastal areas. I am a little discouraged in a sense. I still have some of these people that know everything about the environment. And they keep saying it's going to affect the people of the Arctic. And yes, it will. But they have not communicated with the people of the Arctic. And do they support this research? Do they support the development of resources? Do they look to the future and not just the past? And if you'll talk to those people, the people of the Arctic, they'll say, we want the future. We want to be part of the adaptation to our future. We want to be involved. We don't want to be ignored, but we're not saying no. The no's of the Arctic and keep putting their heads in the sand are doing a disservice to the people of America and this great world of ours. We have to, as human beings, recognize the importance again. I keep stressing that. Congress, again, has a responsibility for the icebreakers. But we're not putting the money in the research that we should because most of our money for research goes to the Antarctic, which really has very little other than research. The northern part of this globe, well, every Arctic nation is where the future lies. And I think the Congress should become more aware of that. I know it's a difficult time for everybody because of financial reasons, but if we're going to have that available to the human beings of this world, we have to do our research. Now, I don't know how much time I have or what time I can have. I will answer any questions. For those that haven't heard my background, I'm an individual that left California 63 years ago. Best thing I ever did. But anyway, I went north I actually was raised on a ranch, I forgot to tell you that. And my father worked us very hard, and bless his heart, I love him for it. I didn't think so at the time because it was 110 degrees. And we moved, I hated the heat. I kept dreaming of the place where it was cold, no snakes, no poison oak. And I got drafted, and during my time in the military, came back and got my coaching degree out of college, coached for 1 year. It was still hot. So I went home and told my mother my father had passed away. I'm going to go to Alaska. And she says, what are you going to do in Alaska? Nothing but a bunch of savages up there. You'll get lost. I said, no, I'm going to go up and mine gold. And I am going to trap fur, and I'm going to drive dogs. And I did that. I went up there, the coldest part, and we have my good friend over from Fort Yukon also. The coldest part of the state of Alaska is the year I went up was 64 below zero for 60 straight days. Forget climate change, that time was really cold. I mean, there was no snakes, and there was no poison oak. And I was in heaven. And then along the line, I married a local lady, and she was my sweetheart, but she said, patted me on the head one day and said, I want you to run for office. And I said, I don't want to run for office. I got my tugboat in the summer. I'm trapping. I'm just having a ball. And she says, nope, the politicians come in, pat us on the head, give us a lollipop, and ask for our vote, and then we don't see them for 2 years. So I ran and lost. Okay. And I won't tell you the whole story of that, but time went by. I eventually got elected to Congress. I came to Washington, D.C., where it's hotter than hell today. And there's all kinds of snakes in Washington, D.C., but they got 2 legs. I like that 2-legged snake bit. And lots of poison ivy. So I went from heaven to purgatory, and but I'll serve my time, and I'll take care of it. But the Arctic is in my heart, the greatest state in the Union. And it's to me, if we don't spend some time and effort and money, research and development of and adapting to what's occurring, we've done ourselves a great disservice. So I want to thank all of you, and I'd answer any questions. My presentations are always short. You notice I don't read anything. It's all from right here. You got the heart for something, you can do most anything. Thank you. God bless.
Thank you, Congressman. I'm going to start with an online question that we already have in. How can we work together to avoid the big budget cuts proposed to essential Arctic research at NOAA and NASA?
And one thing, this is what I'm going to call a constitutional lecture. I've had 45 budgets presented to me in my lifetime, with 9 presidents. And I've never listened to a president yet. No disrespect. Our job under the Constitution is to write the budget, to raise the money and to spend the money. It is not the president's responsibility. He can present his platform or his philosophy. That's fine. I've listened to them all. What we have to do, and what on this issue, that Congress has to be made aware, and that's part of my job, of how important NOAA is. I have a little argument about nymphs once in a while, but about important NOAA, and it's about fisheries. They're studying trout instead of the ocean. That made me upset. But it's our job, and I think we're going to come out fairly well. Will we be able to expand? Probably not. You know, we're $20 trillion in debt. And the rate we're going right now, we will be $25 trillion in debt by the year 2025. If you look at what's happening. That's not good for the nation. It's not good for any of our programs. And it's primarily because we have not utilized what God has given us, and that's our resources, the United States of America. That's what creates real wealth. All this technology, everything is well and good, but it serves something or somebody, and it's created from the resources of this earth. Our job is to adapt to how do we develop them. What is the best benefit for the human race and for the globe as far as environmental issues go? But don't say no. The no's are hurting this country. Let's say, how do we do it? How do we work together? how do we achieve the solution to a problem? That should be our job. So, Noah, don't get too excited. I think you're going to be okay. All right.
Right. Okay.
What else?
Well, this is a personal question. If Puerto Rico becomes the 51st state, would you and your wife consider relocating?
Yeah, my wife is all for it. I will tell you, I'm going to promote Puerto Rico. It should be a state. It's wrong what we've done. We can't solve their problem, and we should not be ignoring 3.5 million people. It is a great state to be in and to visit. Better water, great beaches, and fantastic fishing and friendly people. So instead of going somewhere else, go to Puerto Rico, all right? All right, what else
Thanks
we
for
got?
the plug. Any question for the congressman from the audience?
Thank you all, and I do...
Congressman, we do have one more, and I think you have a few minutes, couple of minutes.
Oh, it's up to you.
Then
you know,
please.
you get me in front of a mic, you got problems.
First of all, we want to thank you for joining us. I'm Marie Green, and I live in Kotzebue, Alaska. And one of the comments you made, Congressman, is the need to educate our Congress about the Arctic. What is it that we can be doing more to help with that? This is real critical, as you already stated, and we want to help in any way that we can to educate the Congress.
Yeah. One thing, you being from Kotzebue, you know one of my biggest challenges now because of the need for a good port in the Arctic, or ports. And you happen to have one of the better ones. If we develop the road, which we've been promoting, the Blossom Road to Blossom Point, a very deep natural port. Of course, other communities want a port, but we have to look at the utilization of ships, etc. And you know what you can do for me, and especially from Kotzebue, and from Barrow, and from Kraktovik, and Point Hope, and Wainwright, all those communities, there are people that come down here and say they represent the Alaskan Native people, and they do not. They're actually paid by interest groups to come down and make testimony saying it's their land. And I will listen, because I have to represent the whole state. But I will listen to those that live in close proximity to any development or any shipping or any other lane before I'll listen to somebody that's 400 miles away. Is that your responsibility? It's my responsibility. It's your herd. So I don't know how we're going to do it. If I would make a suggestion, we would get the NANA and the Arctic Slope to put on a program nationwide, half an hour, called something like I Live in the Arctic, and put on a program every week. It's so exciting, you get people to watch. You ever watch the Alaskan programs on TV? Most of them are bullshit, pardon the French, but people watch them. I'm amazed. I got the Yukon men, which always tickles me, and I know most of the guys in that show. And oh, we're going to starve to death if we don't get our moose. I said, what do you mean? You can go right around the corner, there's a store. But people love watching it. And I call them up and say, why the world are you doing that? You know that's not true if they pay good. So that's what we need, a factual, I happen to have the privilege to go to Jacques Cousteau's family's movie of Jacques Cousteau the other day. He brought more information to the ocean, to the average public, than any other person I know of. And that's what we got to get people that walking the streets or watching that boob tube that say, okay, I'm going to watch I Live in the Arctic. And every day, you know, you can run one show, not make it dramatic. This is what it is. This is the wildlife is here. This is what we're trying to do, and this is why we should be doing this. Da 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 da. I just think it would work. Now it's going to take money. That's the sad part. Unless we can get one of these guys with deep pockets to pay for it, it's going to take money. Now there's probably enough money around to do that somewhere. But education of people through the media is crucially important nowadays because nobody reads anymore. One of the most discouraging things I have, I love to read. I read junk, I read good things, I read bad things, but I read. I hate the television and those cage wrestling is on. You didn't catch that? You haven't watched that show? Shame on you. But We need the utilization of the TV tube, much as I dislike it, with an educational film. That's how I do it, you know. I'm about out of time, I believe. If so,
Yes, you are.
Thank you. There goes statehood. I thank you all, and God bless you. Take care.
Thank you.